It's time for Steve Kerr. Let's go out to the Boxer and Gerson guest line. The coach is sponsored by Xfinity. Xfinity 10G network is made for streaming live sports, which means it's the network you can rely on in the biggest moments. The Xfinity 10G network, the best way to stream live sports, and presented by Great Clips. In sports, success is about team effort, and the same is true for your hair. Great Clips, it's going to be great. Let's talk to Steve Kerr. Coach, nice win last night. How are you?
I'm doing well, thanks. Good to be on with you guys.
Yeah, great to have you as always. Tell us about the experience of having those humongous other human beings watching you play basketball last night.
Yeah, those are big fellas. I've seen them all on TV, but when you see a guy like Brandon Ayuk live, and you think that's the wide receiver, like that's the skinny one, and he's just a rock. I mean, that guy is just so powerful and strong, and just gives you an idea of just the strength and physicality of every single guy on the roster. I mean, it's pretty impressive.
Were you imagining in your mind what a screen roll would be like with Trent Williams? It would be all screen and no roll, but he could screen the entire team at the top of the circle.
You can tell that guy's an athlete. I don't know. I think there's something about the way a guy moves. And when there's a guy who's that big and strong who moves that smoothly, I always picture him playing another sport. I'll bet he was a good athlete, in other sports in high school.
No doubt about it. Steve Kerr with us. Speaking of the skinny one, if someone said that about your team, they'd probably be talking about Jonathan Kuminga, but he's not playing like a slender presence anymore. Coach, what has changed for Jonathan over the last 2 months?
I think the biggest thing is that he's attacking the rim and finishing his cuts to the rim rather than trying to kind of stay on the perimeter, and that's where he's going to do the most damage. He's so powerful, so athletic. Anytime he gets the ball in the paint, he should be attacking the rim, and I think it's definitely coincided with the extra minutes he's getting, the extra opportunity, and kind of all starting to come together for him, which is really exciting because he's worked hard, and this is year 3. I think things are really starting to make sense for him, and that's how you want it to be. It's a lot to learn in this league, and he's picking things up, and he's getting better every day.
39 minutes last night playing alongside Andrew Wiggins, who got 38-plus minutes, and you yourself had said in the past it didn't seem to be working with Wiggins and Kuminga together. Is it too simplistic to say that Draymond Green has been the guy to unlock that combo?
No, I think that's the main reason that things are clicking with those two guys on the floor. Draymond ties the game together at both ends. Offensively, he gets us organized. He makes sense of possessions that, kind of lose shape. He immediately takes control of things on the floor. And then defensively, his communication is so important. He gets those guys organized, and he really motivates those guys, too. He gives them a lot of confidence, and I think they feel his presence when he's out there. So I think Draymond has a lot to do with this.
Coach, for Jonathan, it feels to me at least, and I'm just watching, but it feels bigger than basketball. In other words, this was maybe 4 or 5 weeks ago. You came on, and it was right after the well-publicized talk that the two of you had, after the report that he was kind of losing faith. And since then, it hasn't just been better basketball. He looks different. He looks like he's talking more, smiling more. Like, how has he evolved as a person through this?
Well, I think, first of all, that whole exchange, or whatever you want to call it, in some ways has been good, just because, I think it really put Jonathan on the spot, and, he sort of, he, some ways, called me out, and I think, because we were able to, have some more in-depth conversations after that, and we were able to get some things communicated. That coincided with a chance for him to play a little bit more with some of the injuries that we had with Moses and with CP and Gary. And he's really followed through. You know, I challenged him on some things, and he's followed through, and we've rewarded him with more playing time, and he's really making the most of it.
You mentioned the two guys who are still out due to injury, CP and GP. Are you viewing them coming back as maybe the biggest acquisitions you can get at and around the deadline?
Yeah, I mean, we're not going to find better players than those guys, you know, in a trade. I mean, it's exceedingly rare to make a deal where you can upgrade your talent to that level. So I'm excited about getting those guys back. Moses, too. You know, we've been shorthanded these last couple of weeks, but all three of those guys can really help us for sure.
Coach, I don't want to put words in your mouth, but it sounds like you're saying that with the deadline approaching, that a deal is somewhat unlikely. Is that how you feel?
I think a deal is almost always unlikely, but that doesn't mean a deal won't happen. You know, and that's Mike's job anyway. It's really not you know, anything that I concern myself with. Mike will obviously call me and keep me in the loop if something's going on. But you know, the fact is, most trade deadlines, not much happens. So you just try to do the best you can with what's happening at that particular time with the team, and that's what we're doing right now. I think we're getting better. I know we've had two really tough losses this week, but I like the direction our team is trending, and I like the guys who are coming back off of injury.
Do you feel like that you reacquired Andrew Wiggins in recent days? And if that's the case, because that's how Warrior fans feel, how did you go about getting Andrew back?
I feel like Andrew's actually been coming the last few weeks. I think he's looked better physically. I know it hasn't always played out that way offensively, where he's looked like he did last night, but I just felt like his rhythm was coming. He's had a better stretch, and he looks, I think, as comfortable as he has all season now. And I think the extra minutes have helped. I think the shift in our style a little bit, opening up the floor, playing smaller, gives him better driving lanes and allows him to do some of the things that he does well.
Steve Kerr with us on Willard and Dibs, as he is every single week, 95.7 The Game. So Coach, like, as you sit here now, 44 games in, we're a little bit past the halfway point, and you guys are still clawing to try to get back to 500. When you go back to what the stated goals were that you shared at the beginning of the year, are they the same, or how have they changed?
Well, I think we all expected to have a better record at this point, but the goals haven't changed. We're disappointed with where we are in the standings, but we still like our roster. We still feel like we can turn this into a special season. So, I'm not going to spend much time thinking about how many wins we're going to get, or You might as well not bother asking me, well, how far are we going to go? Anything like that. I'm not making predictions, but I will tell you that we still have high hopes.
Well, that just takes my follow-up away, Steve, because I was going to ask you.
Sorry about that.
I was going to ask you about May plans, but I guess I'll scrap that and instead pivot to Brendan Podziemski saying that he fashions himself as a lightweight Draymond Green. When you hear him say that, what do you think he's referring to in terms of his game and Draymond's game?
I think Brandon loves to make plays, and at both ends, and he fills up the box score. He's a guy who just understands the game, and he's going to take a lot of chances defensively, fly around, play the passing lanes. He's among the league leaders in charges taken in the league. So he's just got a lot to his game. He really understands the game well and impacts it in a lot of different ways.
Coach, Draymond shared on his podcast last night that he felt that Joel Embiid was playing through injury because he's trying to chase postseason awards, maybe because of the new rules of the minimum number of games that you have to play. And so Draymond expressed that he's not really a big fan of that rule. What do you think?
Well, I understand the rule. The last few years, the league has grown increasingly nervous about the number of games that players have missed, and for good reason. Our fans pay really good money to come watch the games. And, so the league is trying to address that. And this was their answer. It's not perfect, obviously. If a guy plays 64 games, is that really that big of a difference, But like I said, I understand what they're trying to do. And nothing's perfect, but the goal is to make the game as appealing as possible to the fans.
Speaking of accolades, we'll turn our attention to the All-Star game where Steph Curry not named a starter. What was your reaction and maybe the reaction inside the building about the chef maybe having to wait now to be a reserve in the Western Conference?
Well, he's been a starter, I think, every year, right? For 9 years or something. Is that right?
Yeah.
So first time as a reserve. I mean, it's inevitable that it's going to happen at some point, and you're not talking about chopped liver going before. These guys who are starters are pretty incredible. So I don't think Steph is that offended by it. He's going to make the All-Star game again. He's one of the great players of all time. I don't think he worries too much about that stuff.
Well, Coach, speaking of his greatness, it might be fun to rewind for a second to last weekend and revisit that game against the Lakers, because I don't know how many more of these Steph versus LeBron performances we're going to get. What was that experience like for you, and what stood out?
Well, I didn't spend a whole lot of time, getting nostalgic or anything, but you have to at least appreciate the moment when those two guys are going against each other, and it was a classic game, classic performance by both of them. And, we are obviously trying desperately to win every game and wrapped up in our own season, but there is a lot of history that's being made with those two, and great respect between them as well. So as fans, we should savor those games, because they are, two of the all-time greatest, and they happen to have come around at the exact same time, and there's amazing history between the two of them.
Yeah, plenty to savor, especially during the time spent at the foul line with the Lakers taking 43 free throws, Steven. You mentioned records. Is that close to a record with a team shooting 43 free throws versus an opponent only getting 16? The disparity, Steve, seemed appalling to me.
Man, you're really trying to stir me up today, aren't you?
Steve, I love you. Yeah, I'm giving you a forum here where you can express yourself. It's just Mark and I. We're old friends here.
Nobody's listening, right?
No, well,
it's just us.
Tens of thousands. Yeah, just three pals kicking it around.
I'm not going there. I started to broach the subject in my post-game media, and I stopped short, which was a wise thing on my behalf.
Yeah, you have too much poise, too much maturity for me, Steve.
Well, I love the way you did it, Coach. You're like, I'll tell you what we're not going to talk about. We're not going to talk about that free throw disparity. I'm telling you that right now. That's pretty next level, Coach.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's good. Coach, I wonder if you'd talk about this, because what I remember is we're a year and a half removed from what was such an epic playoff performance by Kevon Looney that he became such a fan favorite. He always was. George Kittle walking into the place with his jersey on last night. And I wonder what you see with his year. Like, why has his role ended up so diminished?
Well, yeah, I mean, Loon, as you guys know, I don't think Loon has a bigger fan than me. I mean, what this guy's done for us over the years, both on the court and in our locker room, just the leadership, who he is as a human being, the example he is for our young guys. He's amazing. He's an amazing guy, and he's meant so much to us. So this has been a hard thing for me to go away from him. I think what's happened is just the evolution of our team. How things have transpired, the way we started the year with a lot of guys struggling. It really impacted Loon and impacted his ability to stay on the floor. We've just had to open up the floor and get more spacing, more speed in order to survive. And that's the bottom line. I mean, the league has changed, over the years, but it feels faster than ever right now and more wide open than ever. You see some of these scores, 148 to 140. I mean, it's just it's just a sign of where the game is and where things are going, and the way our team has kind of transpired. It's just been harder to find combinations to really put Loon in the best position for him to succeed. So it's rough because, like I said, he's my guy, and doesn't mean he's not going to make an impact. I still think he will, but things have turned away from him for the time being.
And it's well said. And you ended up playing Draymond a bunch at the 5 last night, and Dario Saric, of course, getting his minutes. But the emergence of Trayce Jackson-Davis, how much is he going to now play a greater role in terms of what you're talking about, Steve, in a faster, more mobile NBA?
Yeah, Trayce is he's got a bright future. We're excited about his skill set and what he can do for us. Dario is a guy who creates a lot of offense. He's a post-up mismatch out there all the time. He generates tons of shots for us. So, those guys are both going to play a role, and Loon will too. There's going to be matchups. There's going to be circumstances that dictate his presence out there. But it's just not as simple as it was, a couple of years ago when we played him next to Draymond, and they gave us the best possible two-way combination. The way they freed up Steph and Clay and Wiggs and combined to shut down the paint. It's just not working that way anymore, just given the state of the league and the state of our team. So it's just kind of part of it.
Coach, how's Clay doing?
I haven't talked to him today. Hopefully he's feeling better tomorrow. We practice tomorrow morning and then head out on the road. So we're hopeful that Clay's going to be fine for the road trip.
By the way, and speaking of that road trip, and I know part of this has to do with the makeup game in Utah that looms in a couple of weeks. I was counting this up. It looks to me like 9 games in 14 nights. So what are you all doing to physically be ready for that?
Well, we're hoping to get Moses back on this trip, and that'll help quite a bit. I mean, even just having one more player available who can give you big minutes and quality minutes is huge when you're facing a long stretch like this. Gary and Chris are a ways off, so we're going to have to survive these next couple of weeks with everybody contributing and a bunch of back-to-backs in there too. So it's not going to be an easy stretch.
Do you feel like, Steve, this is kind of a turning point? We asked you this around Christmas time again when you had the 8-game homestand. Like, it was not quite make or break, but a key stretch. And you look where you are now, 4 games below with these next 5 games coming up in rapid succession on the road. Do you feel like that this is a huge, pivotal 5-game road trip for you?
I think they're all pivotal now. Every game's pivotal. Where we are, we really can't afford any more bad stretches. We've got to hang in there and find momentum and get on a little run so we can make some hay in the standings and be where we want to be. Come playoff time.
Saturday, February 10th, home to Phoenix. Monday, February 12th, in Utah. In between that, the Super Bowl. What are your team's plans?
Good question. We usually have a Super Bowl party, wherever we are on the road. If we're home, we just leave everybody to do whatever they want to do on their own. But if we're on the road, if we go to Utah, we'll definitely have a Super Bowl party gathering at the hotel.
Are the guys in any way intense about that, or what? Like take us inside what the vibe will be, because it's the Niners.
Well, that changes everything. I mean, the fact that it's the Niners, the whole team will be pulling for them. But generally, we got a lot of guys who are football fans and who love watching the games every Sunday, and So it's definitely a big deal. But with the Niners on, we all have a rooting interest for sure.
Coach, great to have you as always. Nice win last night. Big trip coming up. Go get them. Thanks for talking.
Thanks, guys. Take care. We'll see you later.
Steve, thank you.
There it is. Head coach Steve Kerr with us right here on Willard and Dibs every single week.